There's something quietly humbling about living in Japan as you grow older. The days begin slower here. The air is crisp. The routine is gentle. And in that quiet rhythm, you begin to notice the subtle shifts in your body long before the symptoms ever become loud. One morning, while walking through a market in Nagano, I met a woman named Akiko. She was 71, dressed in a pale blue coat, with a woven basket on her arm, and a kind smile that made you want to listen. She stopped by a small herbal stall and picked up a golden pouch of turmeric. "I drink it every morning," she said, "for my knees, but it doesn't seem to work anymore." She looked confused, disappointed, maybe even a little betrayed. And I knew right then she wasn't the only one. In fact, over the last few decades, I've seen hundreds of older adults in both the United States and Japan turn to turmeric, hoping for natural relief from inflammation, stiff joints, and foggy memory. It's in smoothies, in lattes, in capsules on pharmacy shelves. And for good reason. Turmeric can be a powerful ally. But here's the truth no one talks about. It's not just what you take. It's what you take it with. Certain everyday foods often praised as healthy can actually block the benefits of turmeric. Worse, they can reverse its effects, leaving you wondering why nothing's improving. That's what happened to Akiko. She was doing everything right, except for the one thing that mattered most. So today, I want to share with you what I've learned not from textbooks but from patients, farmers, monks, and decades of slow medicine. You'll discover the 3 common foods that quietly sabotage turmeric's power and the 3 natural pairings that make it work like it was meant to. By the end, you'll not only understand turmeric better, you'll understand your body better, and how to give it what it's really asking for. Let's begin. 1. The turmeric boom, but are we doing it wrong? I remember the first time I noticed turmeric on a cafe menu in Tokyo. It was a rainy afternoon, and the sign outside read, "Golden milk anti-inflammatory, mind-calming, soul-warming." Inside, a group of college students laughed over turmeric lattes. A businessman ordered turmeric shots. Even the elderly woman beside me had a sachet of powdered turmeric tucked neatly in her handbag. Turmeric was no longer just a spice for curry. It had become a symbol of modern wellness. A quiet revolution in a golden hue. And it wasn't just in Japan. In the United States, turmeric has become a household staple. It's in smoothies, teas, protein bars, supplements, skin creams. More than $2 billion are spent on turmeric products every year, especially among those over 60 people searching for natural ways to soothe their joints, clear their minds, support their hearts. The promise is beautiful, but the reality, not always. Let me tell you about Bernard, a retired teacher from Oregon. He's 74, spends his mornings tending to his tomatoes, drinks a turmeric smoothie with almond milk every day, ever since he read about its anti-inflammatory powers. But during a recent consultation, he said something that caught my attention. "I don't get it. I've been using turmeric for months, but I still wake up stiff. My knees still ache." So we went over his routine, carefully, what he ate, when he took his supplements, what he paired them with. That's when the problem came into focus. He was combining turmeric with vinegar-based dressings at lunch, with sugary granola bars in the afternoon, and occasionally with processed cheese in the evening. In his words, "I was trying to be healthy. I just didn't know the details mattered." And there it was. That's the part no one tells you. Turmeric, as powerful as it is, can lose its magic depending on what you eat it with. Even healthy habits, if done without understanding, can cancel each other out. Bernard didn't need a new supplement. He needed a new strategy. And so do many of us. Because here's the truth. The turmeric boom is real. But most people are doing it wrong. And the good news? It's fixable. If you've ever felt like your turmeric isn't working, if you've added it to your routine but haven't felt the change you hoped for, you're not alone. In this video, we're going to walk through the 3 most common mistakes I see foods that quietly interfere with turmeric's power, and then we'll explore 3 natural allies that bring it to life. By the end, you'll know not just what to avoid, but how to make turmeric truly work for your body. Let's take the next step together. Now, to understand why turmeric sometimes fails us, we need to look at what actually gives it its healing power. Let's talk about curcumin. 2. Curcumin 101. The star behind the yellow glow. When I first started practicing medicine in Japan, one of the monks I met at a rural temple near Ida handed me a small wooden box. Inside was a neatly folded cloth and a pinch of vibrant yellow powder. Medicine, he said simply, but only if you respect it. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Years later, after treating thousands of older adults dealing with chronic inflammation, I've come to understand exactly what he meant. That yellow powder? It was turmeric. And within it, something even more extraordinary: curcumin. Curcumin is what gives turmeric its deep golden color. But more importantly, it gives turmeric its healing power. This compound is responsible for reducing inflammation, protecting brain cells, supporting the heart, and calming the gut. But there's a catch. Curcumin is incredibly difficult for the body to absorb. In fact, without the right conditions, nearly all of it passes through your system unused. You could stir it into your tea, sprinkle it on your soup, or take it in capsule form and still miss out on the benefits. Let me tell you about Evelyn, a 67-year-old painter from Colorado. She'd heard turmeric could help with her arthritis, so she started adding it to everything: soups, stews, even scrambled eggs. But nothing changed. She still woke up with stiff fingers, still struggled to hold her brushes for long. When we sat down together, she looked at me and said, "Maybe it just doesn't work for me." I smiled gently and asked, "Do you know what helps curcumin get where it needs to go?" She shook her head. And that's when I explained it. Curcumin is like a talented musician with no microphone. This message is beautiful, but without the right tools, the body can't hear it. To amplify its power, you need to create the right conditions. A small amount of black pepper, a touch of healthy fat, a calm digestive system that's not overwhelmed by processed food or sugar. That's when curcumin can begin to do its work. Evelyn didn't need to give up on turmeric. She just needed to change how she welcomed it into her body. And within 3 weeks of adjusting her routine, she was back in her studio, painting longer, smiling more. That's the beauty of this journey. Sometimes the smallest shift leads to the biggest transformation. So, if you've been adding turmeric to your life and wondering why the benefits haven't shown up yet, it might not be the turmeric that's the problem. It might be how your body is trying and failing to use it. Now that we understand what makes turmeric powerful, we need to talk about what gets in its way. Let's take a closer look at the everyday foods that silently block curcumin's potential. And it starts with something many of us consume every single morning: processed dairy. 3. Processed dairy, the hidden blocker in your breakfast. When I think of breakfast in America, I think of familiarity. The morning smell of scrambled eggs with cheese, a warm cup of coffee with creamer, maybe a little fruit yogurt on the side. Feels comforting, safe, like home. But sometimes, the things that feel most familiar are also the hardest to question. I met Richard in a quiet town near Lake Biwa, just outside Kyoto. He was 69, a retired carpenter from Minnesota who had moved to Japan with his wife after falling in love with the peacefulness of the countryside. Every morning, he began his day with the same routine: turmeric capsules, a protein shake, and breakfast with eggs and melted cheese. "I'm doing everything right," he told me. "So why do my knees still feel like sandpaper?" We sat down together and looked at his daily habits. The turmeric was there. So was his desire to heal. But something else kept showing up too. Cheddar, creamer, flavored yogurt, all the familiar comfort foods he had grown up with. That's when I explained something few people realize. Processed dairy, especially the kind you find in pre-sliced cheese, powdered creamers, and sweetened yogurts, contains proteins that can bind to curcumin. When that happens, your body has a harder time absorbing the turmeric's healing compounds. And that's not all. Most processed dairy products are filled with artificial stabilizers, preservatives, and added sugars. These can irritate the digestive system, especially in older adults, making it even harder for the body to absorb nutrients. So even when you're taking turmeric every day, it might be quietly slipping past your system unheard and unused. Richard was stunned. All this time, I thought the turmeric wasn't working, he said. But it was the cheese? Not all dairy is bad, of course. But processed forms, the kind designed for convenience, not nourishment, can become silent blockers. We adjusted his routine. Swapped the processed cheese for fresh avocado. Replaced the creamer with oat milk. 3 weeks later, he returned with a smile and a story about how he walked farther than he had in months. Sometimes healing isn't about adding more. It's about removing what quietly gets in the way. So if your morning routine includes turmeric but also comes with a slice of cheese or a flavored creamer, it might be time to rethink that combination. And if you're wondering what other foods could be quietly working against your efforts, you're not alone. Next, let's explore something else that shows up in so many healthy meals, especially salads, sauces, and snacks. Vinegar. And the surprising reason why too much acidity can cancel out turmeric's strength. 4. Vinegar-based foods when healthy acids become the enemy. A few years ago, I visited an organic cooking class in the outskirts of Osaka. It was run by a gentle man named Hiroshi, a retired banker turned plant-based chef. His philosophy was simple: eat clean, cook slow, respect the body. One of the guests that day was Margaret, a 66-year-old retired nurse from California. She had moved to Japan with her husband and was embracing a more natural lifestyle. She told me she had recently started using turmeric daily to help with her digestion and occasional joint pain. I make a beautiful turmeric salad dressing with apple cider vinegar, she said proudly. Turmeric, honey, olive oil, a splash of lemon, and a lot of vinegar. It's my little ritual. She meant well, truly. But when I looked at the combination, I gently paused. And that's when we had the conversation no one ever expects to have about vinegar. You see, turmeric is a delicate compound. Specifically, curcumin active ingredients vulnerable to highly acidic environments. Vinegar, especially in large amounts, can disrupt its chemical stability, breaking it down before the body has a chance to use it. This doesn't mean vinegar is bad. In moderation, it can aid digestion and balance blood sugar. But when combined with turmeric at the wrong time or in the wrong form, it can quietly reduce the very benefits you're hoping for. Margaret listened carefully, eyes wide with realization. I thought I was helping my body, she said, but maybe I've just been canceling it out. It happens more often than you think. From tangy salad dressings to pickled side dishes to detox drinks filled with citrus and vinegar, acidity is everywhere. And for some, especially those with sensitive digestion or acid reflux, combining turmeric with high-acid meals can lead to bloating, discomfort, or worse, no benefit at all. We worked together to find a gentler balance. She kept her turmeric, but instead of vinegar, she switched to lemon zest and a touch of olive oil. Within a few weeks, she noticed her bloating faded, and her joints felt lighter in the morning. The lesson here isn't to fear vinegar. It's to be thoughtful about timing. If you enjoy acidic foods, try consuming them at a different meal than turmeric. Or use smaller amounts, paired with stabilizing ingredients like olive oil and black pepper. Remember, healing is about harmony. And sometimes, the body simply needs you to quiet one voice so another can be heard. Now, there's one more voice we need to talk about. One that speaks louder than we realize. It's in your cereal, your muffin, your afternoon cookie, sugar, and the silent way it competes against everything turmeric is trying to do. 5. Sugar, the sweet saboteur of turmeric's power. It was a quiet afternoon in Hokkaido when I met Teresa. She had flown in from Toronto to visit her daughter, who had just given birth to her first child. At 64, Teresa was vibrant, full of life, and deeply invested in her health. She brought turmeric capsules in her travel bag, a journal of her blood pressure readings, and even homemade turmeric muffins in a sealed container. I've been eating one every day for months, she told me. Whole wheat flour, turmeric, a little cinnamon, and just a bit of maple syrup. They're my anti-inflammatory treat. I smiled. Her dedication was beautiful. But I noticed something. Later that evening, she reached for a small chocolate square after dinner. The next morning, she added a sweetened turmeric mix to her smoothie. By mid-afternoon, she enjoyed her turmeric muffin with a caramel latte, and I began to see the pattern. Turmeric wasn't the problem. It was sugar. You see, turmeric's power lies in its ability to fight inflammation. But sugar, even in small amounts, fuels it. Refined sugars spike blood sugar, trigger an inflammatory response, and interrupt the very healing turmeric is meant to support. So when you mix the two, the body receives conflicting messages. One hand is putting out the fire. The other is adding fuel. Teresa was surprised. I thought as long as I used honey or maple syrup, it was fine. And yes, natural sweeteners are better. But dosage matters. Even raw honey or fruit sugars, when overused, can reduce curcumin's absorption by overwhelming the digestive system, especially in older adults where insulin sensitivity is already shifting. So we tried something new. Instead of baking turmeric into muffins with sugar, she added it to unsweetened oatmeal. She blended it into warm almond milk with just a touch of raw honey. She started reading labels more carefully. 3 weeks later, she emailed me a photo smiling, walking with her grandson in the park, holding a thermos of turmeric tea. "My knees don't hurt anymore," she wrote. "I can keep up with him." That's the power of choosing what stays and what goes. Sugar is not evil. But when healing is your goal, it's important to clear the noise so your body can listen. So far, we've uncovered the 3 most common food traps that block turmeric's benefits: processed dairy, acidic pairings, and refined sugars. Now it's time to shift toward the good news. Let's explore the 3 natural partners that make turmeric shine. Starting with the one humble spice that unlocks its full potential: black pepper. 6. 3 simple pairings that supercharge turmeric. Sometimes the body doesn't just need medicine. It needs a guide, a companion. And turmeric, as powerful as it is, works best when it's not alone. After all the patients I've seen over the years, one thing has become clear: turmeric is not a solo performer. It is part of a symphony. And when you give it the right partners, something remarkable happens. Let me introduce you to Daniel, a 73-year-old jazz guitarist from New Orleans. He moved to Japan to teach music at a small college near Yokohama. Every morning, he made himself a turmeric drink. Just hot water and turmeric powder. Nothing else. "I've been trying to stay off pain medication," he said. "This is my natural alternative." But he still had swelling in his hands. Still had trouble playing longer sessions. He told me, "Maybe I'm just too old to heal." I gently suggested one change: add a pinch of black pepper. He looked at me like I had just handed him a lost chord. That's where it begins. 1. Black pepper, the key to unlocking curcumin. Turmeric's most active compound, curcumin, is incredibly powerful. But without support, your body struggles to absorb it. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine. This small molecule boosts curcumin's absorption by up to 2,000%. 2,000. That's the difference between hoping it works and actually feeling it work. Daniel made the change. Just a pinch of freshly ground black pepper in his morning mix. He texted me a few weeks later with a picture of his guitar in hand, captioned, "Back to playing full sets." It was never about doing more, just doing it smarter. 2. Healthy fats, the vehicle that carries curcumin. Curcumin is fat-soluble. That means it needs fat to travel through your digestive system and into your bloodstream. Without it, most of it just passes through and used. That's where healthy fats come in: olive oil, avocado, chia seeds, nut butters. A patient of mine, Amina, from Morocco, living in Kyoto, had been taking turmeric supplements faithfully. Still tired. Still stiff after gardening. When I asked her about her meals, she said, "I avoid fat. I thought it was bad for inflammation. But not all fat is created equal." We added a tablespoon of olive oil to her lunchtime soup. She started using avocado in her smoothies. The turmeric finally had a way in. A few weeks later, she told me she was back to tending her rooftop tomatoes, pain-free, and smiling. Healthy fat is not the enemy. It is the vehicle. 3. Raw honey, the soothing companion. This one surprises people. Raw, unprocessed honey has its own healing properties: antioxidants, enzymes, and anti-inflammatory compounds. And when paired with turmeric, especially in teas or pastes, it makes both the flavor and the benefit easier to take in. Not the honey from squeeze bottles or processed packets, but real raw honey, the kind that still looks cloudy, the kind you find at farmers markets. My neighbor here in Matsumoto, Keiko, swears by it. Every night before bed, she stirs a half teaspoon of turmeric into warm water with raw honey and a squeeze of lemon. She calls it her golden sleep. And at 70, she sleeps better than she has in years. Sometimes healing tastes as sweet as it feels. So here they are, 3 simple allies. Black pepper to unlock. Healthy fat to carry. Raw honey to comfort and soothe. You don't need complex routines or expensive supplements. Just the right pairings. Simple things. Already in your kitchen. And now that you know what empowers turmeric, there's one more thing to understand. Timing. When you take it matters just as much as how. Let's talk about that next. And discover the best moments to invite turmeric into your day. 7. Timing and dosage when to take turmeric for maximum effect. It was still dark when I arrived at the temple outside Nara. The monks were already awake, moving quietly through their morning rituals. I had been invited by an old friend, a healer who had studied traditional herbs for decades. Over a modest breakfast of rice, miso, and turmeric tea, he said something that has stayed with me ever since. The right medicine at the wrong time is no medicine at all. I thought of that years later when I met Clara, a 70-year-old former ballet instructor from Sydney who had moved to Japan to write her memoir. She had been using turmeric for 6 months. The dosage was fine. The quality was excellent. She even paired it with black pepper and healthy fat. But she still felt foggy in the mornings. Her joints still resisted her afternoon walks. So I asked her one simple question. When do you take it? Her answer? Whenever I remember. That was the missing piece. You see, turmeric is not just about what you take or how you take it. It's about when. Curcumin moves through the body in rhythm with your digestive and hormonal systems. And there are windows of time when your body is more open, more receptivito, absorbing its healing compounds. Let me share what works best for most of my patients. In the morning, taking turmeric with breakfast, especially a meal that includes healthy fats, can help reduce inflammation throughout the day. It sets the tone for circulation, focus, and energy. But avoid taking it on an empty stomach, especially if you're prone to heartburn. After movement, this is a golden window. After a walk, stretching session, or light exercise, blood flow increases. Your body is already in repair mode. A warm turmeric tea or smoothie at this time can support muscle recovery and reduce soreness. Before bed, in moderation. Some people find that a small dose of turmeric, blended with almond milk and raw honey, helps calm the nervous system and ease nighttime inflammation. But keep the dose low in the evening. Too much may stimulate rather than soothe. Clara began building a rhythm. Morning tea with turmeric and oat milk. A sprinkle of turmeric on lunch soup after her daily walk. A golden paste, just a tiny spoon, in the evening. 3 weeks later, she told me, "My body feels like it's listening now." The dosage also matters. For most people, the effective daily range of curcumin is between 500 to 2,000 milligrams. More than that, and you might experience nausea or thinning of the blood. Less than that, and you may not reach therapeutic levels. And of course, for those with conditions like gallbladder disease or who are taking blood thinners, it's important to speak with a doctor before starting any supplement routine. Healing is not a race. It is a rhythm. And once you find the timing that suits your body, even the smallest dose can feel like a powerful shift. Now, before we close this journey together, there's one more step. A step beyond science. It's not just about turmeric. It's about how you choose to carry its wisdom into your daily life. Let's talk about that. The quiet power of consistency, care, and simple choices. Let's talk about how turmeric becomes a lifelong ally. 8. Beyond the hype, making turmeric a lifelong ally. I still remember the first time turmeric helped someone not just feel better but believe in healing again. It was Victor, a 76-year-old piano tuner from Chicago. He had arthritis in his hands, trouble with sleep, and a quiet fear that his best years were already behind him. He told me, "I don't want to fight my body anymore. I just want to feel at peace inside it." We didn't start with a pill or a complicated plan. We started with tea, turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, a drizzle of raw honey. We talked about his mornings, his music, his pain, and his hope. And little by little, we built a rhythm. Not perfect, not instant, but steady. 2 months later, he returned to the clinic, carrying a small recording. He had played again for the first time in years. He said, "I didn't just feel better. I felt like myself." That's what this journey is really about. Turmeric is not a miracle. It is not magic. It is a plant with power, a tool from the earth. And when used with care, with the right partners, at the right time, it becomes more than a supplement. It becomes a companion, a reminder that healing is not about extremes. It's about small choices made consistently. A sprinkle in your soup, a spoonful in your tea, a ritual you keep. You don't need to chase every trend. You only need to listen to your body, to the wisdom of simple things, and to the quiet progress that happens when you honor what your body needs, not just today, but every day after. So if you've ever felt confused by all the noise around turmeric, step back. Remember what matters most. Not hype, not perfection, but daily care, quiet healing, and trust in the long road ahead. And if this story has helped you feel more connected to your body, to your habits, or to your hope, then I invite you to share it. Like the video, leave a comment with your own turmeric story, and subscribe to join me on the next quiet conversation about healing. We grow stronger when we learn together. Until next time, take care of your body because it's been taking care of you.